It is June 7th, 2020, 7 p.m. here in Bangalore, India. If you would like to know more about who I am, just read the pinned post. Here you find some more information and a link to my short life story. In this video, I want to tell you a little bit more on the different narratives in the world on what is going on. Before I start, I want to say that I'm speaking to you from a place of 2,500 plus hours of research in the last 8 years. I'm speaking to you from a life experience of 50 years. And I'm also speaking to you from a place of intuition. I might be wrong in things I say. My invitation for you is to inform yourself and keep on probing, inquiring into what is the truth that is going on. Let me start by saying that I believe what is going on in the world, though challenging for many, is a good thing. It is a cleansing process. What is happening is that collectively, what we see in our world is a projection, a reflection of who we are. And to be precise, the challenges we see is a reflection of our shadow side. This is very important to understand because if you understand a little bit on consciousness and you know that our current default state of consciousness is called the egoic consciousness or duality consciousness or separation consciousness. We see everything as separate. This is incorrect. I'm sure you heard phrases like, we are all one. Well, let's be honest here, right? How often do you and I experience the oneness? Another word for that is love. Another word for it is unity consciousness or heart consciousness. This is, very simply said, where you feel good, you feel peaceful, and you experience the connection with people around you and life itself. Well, let's be honest, we don't feel like that the whole day, right? If we're lucky, we get some glimpses. So you gotta understand that the problems we see, they stem from the inside. And the only way to come out of the situation we perceive in the world is to change the inside. After I tell you on all the different narratives, we'll talk a little bit on how you can shift to a higher state of consciousness so you become part of the solution. So now I will start sharing with you all the different narratives I have seen in my research. Some people, I'm laughing because I like the idea. They're calling this the corona scamdemic, not pandemic, as the narrative which I'm seeing more and more is this is a man-made virus. The reality of the virus is something it's something we can question. First, you gotta understand that there are a lot of narratives going on that People who are dying from other things, they're being labeled death of corona. That's one narrative. Second is the narrative that this virus seems to be not so dangerous. It seems to be like a flu, and it's only that people who are already a other condition in life, a challenging health condition, those are the ones who die. Whether the narrative is whether is this, the question is this from the coronavirus? I'm not here to tell you it is like this, it is like that. I'm just here to share all the different narratives, and I invite you to do your homework. My learning is not to come to conclusions, but to stay in the inquiry. And even more important is to observe what a narrative does to me. I'm here to tell you that any narrative that makes you fearful, angry, sad, or frustrated, then this narrative is part of the manipulation. It's part of the control system. It is part of the dark side. If you heal that part in yourself and you don't resonate because you have embraced and included this part in yourself, accepted without conditions, then this narrative will not have the power to dominate your mindset. See, the problem in the world is that people are now all reactivated. Whether it's fear, whether it's anger or frustration, I'm here to invite you to not give the power of who you're being away to perceived externals. Who do you want to be? And do you give people and circumstances the power over who you're being? Are you giving up being loving because something is happening in our world? Do you justify violence if you're in a position of authority? If I'm a policeman, I will not bring violence to my fellow brothers and sisters. An important learning I got in my 50 years of life is that one of the most important laws of our universe is the law of free will. Don't you want people to respect your free will? And I'm here to tell you that it's also important that you respect other people's free will. I'll give you an example. Now there's a whole narrative on wearing the mask for the coronavirus. And my research tells me that this mask doesn't help for a virus. The virus is too small. And imagine you're going to work. Let's say you have to go by bus. And you step into the bus. Half of the bus wearing the mask, half of the bus is not. So what there is to understand is we live in a world of dualities, polarities. That's why we call our default state of consciousness duality consciousness. So when you get into this bus, are you the one with the mask, wanting others to wear the mask, or are you the one, what nonsense, don't wear the mask? And I want you to understand that you gotta transcend this duality, this polarity, because neither option will result in a peaceful environment. whether I'm going to convince you to wear or I'm going to convince you not to wear. So here is what there is to learn. In a state of higher consciousness, you transcend, you overcome this duality of mask, no mask, and you operate from a place of wisdom where you respect people's free will. So people who want to wear the mask, they can wear the mask. If you don't want to wear the mask, don't wear the mask. And it is not my job to abuse a illusionary authority I might have as a bus conductor, as a police officer, as a government official. You gotta understand that as humanity we have been deeply programmed for millennia with two concepts we will let go in the years and decades to come. And these two concepts are authority and ownership. As you start understanding our Sustainable World Project, which has 50 steps to transform our world, and you learn that one of these steps is about relinquishing authority and ownership. You do not have authority over someone else, and neither do I. But you gotta understand that as humanity, we are deeply programmed with either the tendency to control others or the tendency to be submissive towards others. That's inequality. And we gotta become aware of that. Let's name a few more narratives. Understand that our world has been governed by a small group of people for millennia, and they have been doing that so far in two ways. One is an artificially created money system that creates money in scarcity. Have you ever thought about that? Why not create money in abundance? Well, when we create money in abundance, people will realize, oh, money system is actually not needed. Second part of the old control system is information. The rich elite, Illuminati, deep state, cabal, royal families, give it a name, the people who have been controlling us, they're owning not only the media, but also the entertainment worlds and the education systems. If you think about that, these three systems give us all the information. If that information is manipulated to instill belief systems that do not serve us, well, look at the world. That's what got us here. Now, this old system is breaking down, and the plan of the elite is to create a new system where control will take place through artificial intelligence. I'm sure you might have heard a little bit of it. You can research transhumanism, where human beings will get merged with technology. Well, you will have to choose for yourself. Personally, I prefer my evolution to be naturally and not through technology. And you gotta understand that there is artificial intelligence, very small, which can come into your body. It can be controlled through, for example, 5G. And there you are. You are literally becoming a puppet. Now, how will they bring this technology inside your body? Well, one way is mandatory vaccinations. Not a good thing. Research vaccinations if you have not heard of this and discover that this is another way to control the masses. Do your research. I'm just gonna touch the different narratives. You do your research, you find your answers. When you hear this for the first time, maybe it brings fear. It for sure did for me. When I started learning in 2012 on the rich elite, first time I heard it, cognitive dissonance. What does it mean? It means it is so absurd, the idea, that your mind simply rejects it. I watched a documentary of the Thrive movement. You find the link in our pinned post. And it didn't register. Then, some months later, I watched it for a second time, and then I didn't sleep well for 2 weeks. I had to process. So this process, I want you to understand, it's a process where first you're in denial. You don't believe that all this stuff is going on in the world. It is okay, we still love you if you're there. Then comes your awakening. You go beyond the mechanism, the programming of denial, and you're like, oh my God! And you become angry, furious, sad, scared. That is the emotional reaction. Then from there you might move to despair. Oh my God, what a world we live in. And then the last step is where you embrace, you accept the different dualities, the different polarities in our perceived world. You accept the good and the bad. And this is what will bring the transformation. If you look into ancient wisdom traditions, or you take a scientific approach, you start to understand that this world is not physically separate from us. And I can say it in many different ways. I like to call it a light matrix or a 3D movie. Now, when you go to the movie theater and you don't like the movie, do you go to the screen and you bash up the characters? You don't do that, right? That would be very funny. But this is what we do in what we call life. We keep trying to rearrange all the building blocks and the people and the circumstances, what we see outside. But you gotta understand, what you see outside is the projection. That is the movie screen. Instead, go to the projector room and change the projection. Change your mind, and that's how you change the world. Change your state of consciousness. That's how you change the world. The world is a projection. It is not a physical thing outside of you. You and me and all the other human beings collectively, we are creating what we call reality. Now, this is good news. That means we have the power. And if we start doing the inner work, embracing our shadow side, accepting the dark parts inside of ourselves, that's how we transform the world. So now we come to part 3. How? How do you do that? When you're down and out and you're angry or you're feeling so powerless, let me share the things we all practice. And you gotta practice them rigorously these days, as these months, you gotta understand that all of us, humanity, we are connected by a field of consciousness. Consciousness and mind is not separate, it's joined. There is no such thing as your mind and my mind. We are connected. So, a lot of painful thoughts and vibrations are roaming around through the collective consciousness at this time. And they get downloaded into the human beings. And there we pick it up: anger, fear. The last 2 days I had quite good days. This morning it was crap. There was a lot of fear. And I had to spend some 3 hours on doing all kind of work. So what did I do? How can you come out of the lower vibrations? How can you transform that shadow side? I'm gonna say a lot of different things. You pick whatever works for you, and there will be plenty other ways you can do it. There is no right way. I would say meditation is a powerful one. Prayer is number 2, if that works better for you. What works very well, even better than the previous 2, I would say, is if you have built at least one, hopefully a few, very powerful friendships, relationships, where you have taught the other person to listen without reaction, without judgment. So you can share, I'm angry. And the other person says, I hear you, you're angry. Yes. So you share your true feelings and your thoughts. Now, very important is that the other person only listens. If the other person starts fixing you, advising you, judging you, it won't work. Our leadership program is about teaching people non-violent communication skills and non-judgmental listening skills. If you want help to be empowered, read the pinned post. It directs you to how you can participate in our program, how you can learn and grow and become part of the solution. So share with a friend who can listen. If you don't have a friend who can listen, first teach them how to listen. If you don't know how, then if you like what we do, join the program. We will teach you. Next, how do you come out of this lower vibration? You got to understand that we're all built of the elements. So when you go into nature and you expose yourself to the different elements, for example, water, every day I'm taking 3 showers, a bucket bath, I should say. Every time I take that shower, I'll be good for maybe a couple of hours. Take off your shoes and walk on the earth with your bare feet. Expose yourself to the air. It could be the wind. Sometimes when I'm driving in the car, I open the window and I just stick out my arm. I can feel the healing of the wind, the air element. Fire element, that can be the sun. Expose yourself, your body, to the sun. Make sure you get some sunshine every day. Very important. And you can feel when it is enough. Air is also communication. So that I already mentioned. Through communication, you can empower yourself. So the elements, the 4 elements, earth, water, air, and fire, can help you to come out of this lower vibration. Last exercise, how you can come out of the lower vibration, is one where you lay in your bed. If you want to, you can hold yourself and you make yourself fully comfortable. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna keep on observing. What are you gonna observe? You're gonna observe your body, your breathing, your emotional state, the thoughts in your mind, and your environment. You keep rotating between those five, and every time what you do is you keep on acknowledging what you're observing. And then you bring acceptance. For example, my breathing is a little high. Acknowledged and accepted. I can feel a sensation in my lower back as I'm not sitting 100% comfortable. Acknowledged and accepted. I observe my thoughts. You will find crazy thoughts, embarrassing thoughts, angry thoughts. Whatever you observe, acknowledge and accept. If you do this and you take the time, don't hesitate to take 30 minutes, take an hour. You gotta understand, if you are not feeling